if anything, I'm just so glad that that's how you feel, because
Yes,
I too fucking hate that shit.
Kevin doesn't. Kevin's a fucking, he's in his fantasy world that
yes, I want to
it's
talk to you about
special and unique. And
excellent, dude.
I don't know why Josh just said that. I don't hate
because I sat there for an hour bashing this fucking...
because that's all you do, Josh. All you do is bash shit.
There's a lot of shit to be bashed, Kevin.
Josh,
a lot of terrible
Josh,
things in the world.
He does have you there. You do bash a lot of things. It's true, Kevin. But you know what I do, Josh? I think it's good that you threw Kevin under the bus at the top, because I would have done the same thing, no matter what he thought.
Thank you very much.
No, but you, so anyway, just to catch the audience up, this week we watched The Mona Lisa Curse by Robert Hughes, the famous art critic of...
The most famous art critic.
And another thing about Robert Hughes, that a lot of people do or don't know, is that in his day, Robert Hughes did a lot of drugs and partied.
Mm-hmm. What did I say, Kevin? What did I say, Kevin? They kept doing close-ups of his nose. I was like, look how much fucking coke this guy did.
Yeah.
He was like it was like the Walking Dead nose he had. If they would do close-ups, it was like...
Yeah, I mean, he really didn't fucking hold up well.
No, he didn't. No, he did not.
You know what he did? He held up mentally well. And at the end of the day, I was telling Kevin, like, we were looking at some old ladies in this fucking thing who, like, spend money on all types of bullshit.
Well,
not to go off on a fucking rant, but, like, you're going to be old and ugly no matter what. Like,
well, yo, dude, the Mona Lisa Curse, bringing this up, especially for the three of us, because this documentary is also to me, a very New York documentary. This
absolutely.
Is
well,
fucking particular type of person that you find in New York.
You know, these kind of, I was telling Josh this when we were watching this, it's like, the art doesn't bother me, but what does bother me is these little get-togethers they have, right? Like, I feel like all of those people don't know that there's a poverty line, right? Like, they've never met anyone under the poverty line, and when they do, it's like they have to come to.
Like, I disagree with Kevin.
Okay.
I think when I was trying to tell Kevin, because I'm really a really terrible person to watch anything with, I was trying to interrupt him. What we were watching was a product of, these were people who were birthed after not after, but out of World War II. So like, you know, they were products of being in America. It was golden era. Like, everything was fucking amazing and awesome. They were, they were born in privilege. I don't think they came from terrible beginnings, is what I'm trying to say.
What are you talking? Wait, where are you at? Who? The artist?
Kevin. Well, Kevin is. The thing is this: you watch the people in the documentary, and you're like, Kevin's saying, "Oh, they're all these privileged, rich, pieces of shit," and they became pieces of shit. But the truth of the matter, and Kevin's like, they don't know. Kevin was saying they don't know anybody from poverty. They don't know what it is. I totally disagree with that. Yeah. These are people who came, most likely, a lot of them, maybe some of them had their like money inheritance, came from like World War II, nothing backgrounds, who just happened to be born in a time of prosperity and capitalized on it.
Mm.
I'm not talking about the guys in the 60s. I'm not talking about those people, Josh. I'm talking about people in the 90s, 2000s. I'm talking about those guys, bro.
Yeah, but the film, what it states is that idea, the monetization and the investment aspect of art, especially modern art, started in the 60s and 70s.
Okay, let me rewind for a second and just set up this documentary for the people who are like just don't know. But so the Mona Lisa Curse is a documentary by Robert Hughes, he wrote a bunch of books basically criticizing and also like name checking the art world as it developed over the years. But in this documentary, he's like, basically, if it wasn't for in the 60s when the Louvre brought over the Mona Lisa and it was presented in New York City like a celebrity, like a fucking royalty from Europe the way a king would come, and almost the American royalty like JFK and stuff didn't fucking honor it and make this huge spectacle, that at that very moment, art became something different. Because when that happened, then people, the masses, and also like the business class were like, art has a value and we are going to use it to sort of capitalize and make a commodities market where you can buy things based on the relative value, the way like, oh, what are shares of Apple selling for today? They basically did that with art starting in the 60s and have created a commodities market where basically it's all money laundering. I mean, that's the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about, because like what's not said in this documentary is like all of these artworks that are being sold at these insane prices are all like cartels and fucking shell corporations and all this like nefarious shit. In North Korea, they have like reproduction. They have slaves reproducing paintings.
Josh was talking about this not too long during the doc.
I told about 40 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Well, I was telling Kevin, I have an Asian friend of mine. He's not really a friend, but it's somebody I know.
He's a guy.
I know a guy.
He knows a guy. He knows a guy.
And he know a guy, but anyway, he deals in replicas of expensive watches and bags and stuff like that. And I was pretty sure, I tried to find it to show to Kevin, but I couldn't find it. It may have been because I kind of know a few of these different people who post stuff on the internet. And as of recently, a few weeks ago, they had posted a very beautiful, giant, probably like 6 feet by 4 feet painting, an oil painting that was a masterpiece. And the video is that masterpiece and a room of 6 or 7 master artists in Asia and China, replicating this masterpiece. And honestly, it's just as fucking good. It's just as fucking good, okay? And I think, I was telling Kevin, not to jump ahead into what we're doing, I am, one of my greatest admirations of current time is of the Chinese replication market. Because first of all, art's fucking bullshit. And putting value into something because it's this specific brand, and then you get this fucking factory, they should treat the people good in there, and hopefully it's like proper safety hazards, but they can replicate to a fucking, to almost to the atom, it's getting at this point. The same exact thing that they're charging thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars for. So what the film was dictating, I think what Robert Hughes was trying to say is that, his disgust was the brandizing of art, the making it, everything is about, it's a brand and what the brand's value is worth. If you can replicate something, you can shit on it. And that's my point.
Well, I guess like one of the reasons why this documentary is like personal to me is that like I went to art school, and when I was younger, like before I like had that opportunity, there was like a part of me as a kid that thought that I could be an artist. Now I was like 15 years old. So you're talking about a kid who doesn't know the difference between weed leaves and weed. So like not a very bright person at all. But there was this naive idea that I had that I could, obviously I was into art. Like I wanted to do art in some capacity in my life. Yeah. That was like my primary drive. And I was like, I want to do it. And what the fuck did I know? And I went to the library at my school, and check this out. The librarian, she's like an old woman in her like 60s. And when she was young in the 50s, she used to be friends with Ellsworth Kelly, who is a famous modern artist from like
Machine Gun Kelly's great-grandfather.
Exactly. So that guy comes from a long line of talented people. and also involved in copying. So what do you call it? So when I was like 16, a year after that, my mom's friend, who was an artist, who was like one of those like sort of mentor people in my life, who was like, oh, you should, like, when I was like 12, she was like an artist. She had been like a teacher, an art teacher at another school. And she would like give me books on drawing and shit, like all throughout my childhood. So when I was 16, she had like tickets to like going to like the museum and meeting Ellsworth Kelly, like, cause he had a 50-year like book coming out. And like, it was awesome. Like I went to one of those gala things, and like, I went and like, I brought my like a little book, and he signed it. It was like cool. And so like, I had this idea that I was like gonna, like my life would like sort of go in that direction. And then when I got to the School of Visual Arts in Manhattan, I was like finding out that like, I was just too poor to get anywhere near the doors to anywhere near this world. And I was just like, what the fuck is this? It's so crazy. I felt so locked out of the city itself. And there were these gatekeepers of city type of people that like, you know, we all love New York City for different reasons, but a big part of Manhattan is this like trickle down rich, like scumbaggy type people who like, you get up to a certain blocks in the city and you're like, okay, there's nothing for me for the next 20 blocks. Cause like, I don't live in this fucking universe, you know?
See,
we should let Kevin talk because you did a long one and I did a long one. So Kevin, you can talk.
I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, you get forfeited. Josh, you're back to you.
Sorry. Come on, Kevin. Remember what you were going to say. I forgot what I was going to say now.
Fuck.
No, I remember what I was going to say.
Kevin, I need you guys on the podcast, mostly for moral support. I really could do this myself, but I don't want to. I love you guys.
No, I have what I'm going to say.
Kevin, I hope this doesn't happen on your podcast.
It doesn't.
What I was going to say is I had a different experience than John, because I was an acclaimed modern artist at a very young age.
You piece of shit.
That's fucking true. It's not true. A lie. It's not a lie.
It's not a lie. It's factual. It'll be in my wiki. I won the official modern art state greeting card for New York when I was a young tender age of 12.
You know how much coke came in from Colombia on that drawing?
Oh, shit.
So I learned very quickly how fickle and stupid
the art market is.
Art and because this is the truth. If you're a fan of the Low End Gigolos,
so glad you were.
I connived my piece of artwork. I knew.
Honestly, rock that shit, homie. Tell the story.
I'm 12 years old. My art teacher tells me that there's a statewide art test to be the official greeting card. And it was mid 90s, early 90s. But, you know, we're in New York City, and I was the third best school in New York City. And it was a time of political correctness at its birth. So if you think, you know, the world's PC now, this was the vagina it came out of. So when they told us we had to make a card that would represent the state, I knew I would have to do a few things, and those would be disregard God, so have no religious stuff in it, and definitely make sure.
This is such an interesting retelling of the story.
Definitely make sure that every ethnicity in Queens, which is everyone on Earth, was involved. So, and then you have something to represent that it's actually winter, which would be snow and a snowman. So I drew a picture of a white guy, a black guy, a Chinese guy, an Indian guy, and a Mexican guy, and a Chinese guy, all holding hands around a snowman, but with zero religious symbols.
But and, in the very background of the drawing, they're about to walk into a bar.
There's a bar right behind it, but that's where I grew up. But bottom line was, 6 months later, flash forward, the worst kid in school, the most misbehaving deviant, had won the greatest prize in all of my school's history. Up until that point, I won a trip to Disney World. I was in fucking the New York Post.
Did you go to Disney World though?
I did. I won a trip for 4 to Disney World. And I told my best friend I would take him. And my parents made me take my sister. And I was fucking so pissed. Yeah.
We never heard that part of the story. We never heard about your trip to Disney World.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
I have fantasies of like ingratiating myself in this world, right? And then going to these places, being rich enough to buy some of their art, right? And really, really getting in there, right? And then like one year, I start a rumor that I'm going to spend $5 million on art, right?
I do like this cartoon.
Right? I spread a rumor. Everybody's reporting on it. Like Kevin Sanchez, comedian Kevin Sanchez is going to come through. He's going to spend money on art. He's going to make sure the money goes to the pockets of the artist, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, but I'm also going to bring like 25 kind of homeless, intoxicated Adam Morrises with me. Kind of smelly. You don't know if they're homeless or they're like they live in NYCHA.
You're gonna bring the Josh Christmas card of Adam Morris.
Yes, I'm gonna bring Josh's Christmas
from every
card. Every ethnicity, and then we're just gonna like we're gonna damage some of the art, but I'm gonna buy it. Yeah, I'm like, guys,
I have a better
who
idea.
You are. Of course you do. Go ahead, say it.
Fuck you.
Oh, I like that reversal. Yeah, fuck you, Josh.
No. Do the same thing, but you should also create the art that you're buying so you don't waste all the money.
Yes, that's what I want to do.
You know, like, so make a whole exhibit of fucking really stupid art, because that's the point. If you put anything in a fucking studio on the wall in front of rich idiots, they're gonna buy it because they don't fucking know any better. John, Kevin, can we talk about our favorite moment in the movie?
Oh yeah. Go ahead.
Kevin, you do it. You tell him.
I hope I know. I hope it's the same part I'm thinking of.
All right, so he's interviewing. This is when he interviews the guy, right?
Oh, at the end?
Yes.
Yeah.
So he asked him a question. He goes,
who's your favorite artist?
He goes, Andy Warhol, whatever the fuck his name is, right? Warhol.
It's the best.
And he goes, what makes him so great to you? Right? And he says something. He goes, he's unoriginal, right? He's not good at all. And then he goes, well, that's what makes him original. Right? And then the guy goes, and he's like almost having an arrhythmia. Like
me and Kevin replayed it 4 times because it's the funniest thing in the world.
Did you see
He hears this idiot's logic on why Andy Warhol is so great. And then he makes this face like this. Look at me. He goes,
No, what about the part where the guy goes like, he's like, yeah, and I've actually held the Mona Lisa in my hands, and he goes,
oh.
I know. I was like,
I forgot about it. He orgasms.
He orgasms.
Yeah, I hated him for that second. Shut up.
I was like, one thing about this documentary that I am like positive about, and it's like is that all art people, the artists, the buyers, the critics, everyone, they're all assholes. They're all assholes.
All humans are assholes. That's the point. But that's the preposterance of art.
Because here's the thing. It's like, he's talking all this shit, right? And it's like the moments of the movie, I'm like, this guy has a gazillion dollar, like New York City penthouse setup. It's like, you're eating off of this plate too. You're fucking, and the other thing was that, like,
hypocrites.
Yeah. And just like Josh would say, how he's like, art used to be this thing where it's like, you could be like of modest means to like buy art. And they go to that first Jewish couple and they're like, yeah, we just like to hang something in our apartment. And it's like, you guys are also assholes. Like, you're snobby assholes.
Well, you know what? But this is the thing. Those were relics. That Jewish couple. I didn't talk about this with Kevin. Art was always prized by Jews. Art was very highly valued by the Jewish community before it was in vogue to think that art was so special. People thought art was stupid. They thought it was gay. They thought it was funny.
Yeah, Kevin. Bullshit. Yeah, Kevin.
They thought art, but like seriously, like they thought art had no value. And it was, you know, it was those Jewish families that were like, you know what, there is something special about this. And a lot of that art was stolen by the fucking Nazis during World War II.
You're right.
But we got a lot of it back, so.
You can find all of that in a sub-podcast that we're starting called Jewish Wiki After Dark.
You know, I saw the Mona Lisa, and I never liked the Mona Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
She's an ugly lady, man.
But then I realized why. Yeah? I finally realized what I hate the most about her.
What about?
The bitch got no eyebrows. This bitch has no eyebrows and is infuriating.
No, she does have some soft pads over here that give, but like it depends what print. There's some prints where like the shadow is missing. And it looks like she shaved her brows completely.
Yes, and I hate it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was the thing. But if it if it was the thing, I'm glad those people died off.
Right.
Mona Lisa's a 6.
She's a 6.
A 6? In what world?
No, but no. Come on, dude.
Come on, Kevin.
You're telling me that you wouldn't hit it?
I'd rather hit it.
You would?
I mean, listen, desperation, yeah. If it's 3 weeks into if it's 6 weeks into a pandemic, sure, why not? You know, Josh saw the alpaca I had running through here, right? But let me tell you something. I'd rather my alpaca with eyebrows than a Mona Lisa without.
Well, you don't know.
Yes,
if Mona Lisa was around now, if Mona Lisa was around now, she'd have a completely different style.
You're right. She'd look more trans, and I'd be more into it.
John, let me ask Kevin this: because we know a girl who has exclamation marks for eyebrows. Would you prefer a woman with exclamation marks?
She doesn't have exclamation. Wait, she has a parenthesis.
Is it a regular exclamation part or a Spanish?
No, she has a comma. She has commas for eyebrows.
They're commas.
Yeah.
All right.
So what's the question?
Would you prefer a woman who has commas?
Well, that's a tough question. Or no eyebrows?
Or no eyebrows? Or Mona Lisa brow?
Mona. I'm gonna go with commas. I have to go with commas. There got to be something there.
Yeah, I mean, for a guy like you who's all eyebrow, you need to go with some eyebrow. Yeah. What do you think of that guy? I think his name was I don't remember his name, but the guy who was like a cabbie who really got it popping. The guy who like bought the cabbie company and
the guy with the fucking hair and he was fucking everybody over.
To me, like that guy is a much more like gigolo style scam artist. He's like, I'm gonna fuck everybody over, and it's
I don't think he's a scam artist.
No, he wasn't a scam artist. He was a product of his environment.
No, but like for instance, I did like the scene where Rauschenberg is like, you piece of shit, like you are making so much money off of the thing you bought, like off of me.
40,000, they said 40,000 for the next one.
Then he's like, hey, dude, you're gonna make a lot of money on your next sale. Like I work for you. He was like a real conniver. I was like, this is New York. That is fucking New York.
That's New York. Honestly, that's really New York at its finest right there.
Yeah.
Also, hey, buddy, you sold it for $40K.
Yeah.
Right? Parlay that shit, bro.
Dude, honestly, like that part, I could have like had like a Jay-Z song scoring it. It was like
Jay-Z talks about art in he talks about it in OJ, right?
Well, he talks about it in every album now.
Yo, but you know what though? Like I have mixed feelings because I feel like Jay-Z, like getting into modern art is exactly the thing that this guy is talking about it. Because Jay-Z is like, oh, I'm into contemporary art just because
racist, mate.
I feel like he's into it just because
racist.
This is making money. No, I don't think so, because that's so much of Jay-Z's brand.
Back me up here, Kevin.
Kevin, what do you think? Where do you fall on the Jay-Z modern art divide?
I think Jay's pretentious now. I think Jay, he's trying to make some money. He's not trying to make money.
Is John racist for thinking that Jay-Z shouldn't be talking about modern art?
John, is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying Jay-Z like associating with himself with like Maria Abramovich, the woman who just sits in a chair and does nothing, and like all this contemporary art. It's like yo, that shit sucks. Like, it's not creative or awesome. Like especially like I don't think it like coincides.
Wait, Abramovich, the one who does the Illuminati fucking eating of dead humans and shit?
Abramovich, the one who was like, I'm gonna sit here for 8 hours. I could be shitting, I could be pissing, and if you look at me, that's like this incredible thing. I'm like,
yeah, that's some Illuminati shit, bro.
Well, no, dude. Yo, one thing about this documentary that I think is like explicit is, the Guggenheim. What are you gonna say?
I heard that the way to get into these galleries, these auction galleries, is first you have to pay a fee, right? You have to be of a certain tax bracket, obviously, right? And also you have to turn in your kiddie porn to see if you're up to date. Because if you're not up to date on your kiddie porn, you're not in.
You're never going to go to Guggenheim Island.
Yeah, because you don't have the eye. Josh was saying earlier that like Epstein funded a lot of these things.
Dude, well, did you see that island that they were building?
That's what I was telling him. Is
that what you meant?
In the documentary, in the thing, one of the girls, the first accusers, was from one of the art schools. That's like where all the modern art stems from. That's like it's like beginning point.
Oh shit! I didn't know that,
man.
No, but the thing in this documentary was like the guy who I think his name was like Tom Kranz. He started running the Guggenheim, and like he said in the middle of the documentary, he's like, yeah, I would just like rent the museum out to whatever corporation wanted it for the night, for the weekend, and they could basically do their fucking deals. It's like that was just like, yo, do you want to like throw some money under the table, launder some money like within these art? They just let the 70s. It's like total New York City going wild.
You know what, John? Honestly, up until a few years ago, money laundering was as easy as a fucking anything. You know, like nowadays, your hands typing are being videotaped. Back then, 90% of the shit wasn't in a database. It wasn't in a computer. It was in a fucking book with a log, with a finger, somebody writing it in there. You know, shit was really...
Back in the day, you could like murder somebody and steal an identity and get away for months.
Bro, I would love to, like, if I had a time machine, I would have a thing like, how much can you get away with? That's what it's called. And you travel back in time and see knowing what you know now, how much can you get away with back then? Like, can you murder somebody, rob an entire bank, ruin a fucking business, and like kidnap like the mayor within a 4-block radius? Can you get away with it? That's the game show. It's a game show.
That would be fucking great. I know. It's true. You really could get away. But you know, the problem is that you go further back in time and people are more brutal, I think.
Oh, no. If you get caught, the stakes are higher. But if you have a time machine, you have escape mechanisms.
Yeah, that is a cool video game. It's a cool video game and also a cool movie idea. Like to go back in time to do a heist, to do a few heists.
Yeah, just to see how stupid people were. But it's not even the point of stealing what you can, because you could just go and steal something if you wanted to.
Do you agree with the artist should get a percentage of what the art was sold for?
That's an interesting question. Or the royalty. Well, the
royalty. Some
you
royalty.
Watched the thing on Chappelle that I posted and Kevin sent me?
What?
Chappelle recently he put out these 20 minutes. It's called damn, what is it called?
It's called I'm sticking a fucking foot in the fucking media's ass, motherfucker.
Well, basically he was like, I signed this deal for Chappelle's show when I was in my 20s. Right? When I was a dumb kid who was a father to be. I was broke. And Chappelle's show made a ton of money for a network, and I received nothing for it.
Wow!
And now it's on Netflix, and now it's on HBO Max. And he goes, I remember when I pitched the show to HBO Max. I walked in there, and usually these networks, they tell you yes or no, and that's it. But HBO, when I sat with them, they go, why do we need you? Get out of here. So now you're streaming it on your platform, And I'm asking you now, HBO, why the fuck do you need me? Right? And he was saying that, he goes, and that's why I fuck with Netflix. Because I called him up and I let him know, this hurts my feelings that you guys have this up there. And within 20 hours, they took it down.
Wow.
It wasn't HBO, right? It was Netflix who took it down.
That's what I just said. And listen, a part of me does understand, like, you signed a contract, you got to live with the consequences, right? A part of me believes that, but a part of me also believes, you know what?
You know what's cool that's happening here? It's what I think is the meeting between Kevin's fuck it, like that's the way it is side, and his actual, I'm also an artist that's trying to create something in the world. How would I feel if the thing that I worked on my whole life was taken from me, and then it's like, this is how the world works, asshole.
No, this is the battle that's going on in Kevin's head, because I told him this after we watched that special. I was like, I can't recreate it because it's very offensive.
Okay.
But basically what I said was the position that where Kevin, myself, and you as well are, you know, even though grading animals, you know. But we're all in the position where someone comes along right now, they're like, hey, dickhead, you want $50,000? We'd be like, yes, thank you very much. Where do I sign?
I know, and $50,000 isn't even that much. And it's like,
nothing. It's nothing. Yeah. But we would sign it tomorrow, even if we know in our hearts how valuable we are, but we would sign that tomorrow because we're no one now.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow it's worth $500,000, but that's just the fucking way things work.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to sign that.
I feel like
I'm gonna bitch.
I feel like among artists, and I feel like this across the board, there's like the hardest competition. Like anything you want to do, whatever it is, stand-up comedy, fucking drawing, whatever it is.
Right.
There are the most cutthroat, like your peers are the best they've ever been. And it's like, okay, compete. It's a free market. But the thing about it is there's also like, it's just like the blurry truth of reality where it's like, yes, merit does have something to do with it, but there's also all these like other aspects that can affect it that are, it's unfair, but it is there. And it's like the fact that the art market is like this, and it like really puts the artist in a terrible position. Like, I mean, the starving artist, you always knew. That's like the first thing when people think of artists, they think starving artist. But the fact that it's like, there's like a finger in your face, like, oh, by the way, like we like right outside.
We've gotten to the point we didn't talk about that. It's not in this documentary because the documentary is 12 years old. It's 2008.
Yep.
Who's the most famous modern artist of our time?
Who?
Banksy.
Oh, fuck. Banksy isn't even in it.
You know, and he's not in it. He came 3-4 years after, at least into prevalence.
Right.
But, you know, Banksy hates this shit. And I love Banksy's stuff. His fucking stuff is amazing. And even though I don't agree with some of his politics, but at least he's fighting against it. You know, like, and Kevin said that, I mean, you know about this. Banksy, you know, released the thing of, you know, he had the picture where it went into a shredder and they bid on it. And it was supposed to be, as soon as the winning bid
came in,
it was supposed to go through a shredder and become shredded.
Yes.
And it jammed halfway through, supposedly. Kevin thinks it's a setup. He thinks it's fake.
Yo, I mean, it's weird. It's like, on one hand, Banksy is cool because he is making a statement about art, like playing within the fucking language of this stupid, disgusting, like, what is it? What is that movie where like everyone's mouth is sewed to the other person's asshole?
Oh, Human Centipede.
Yeah, that's what I think of the art world. Like, I think it's centipede of like 100%. These fires and then these.
But no, but you know what the fucked up thing is, John? Is the art in the film beautiful, brilliant. I honestly, and I think Andy Warhol stuff is good too, to a degree, but like there's a lot of artists in the film that are like amazing.
Well, they had Rauschenberg in it. Like Rauschenberg rocks.
Beautiful, amazing stuff. But even that, but the monetizing of it and turning it into like a money trap. I told Kevin, like, to me, it felt like it sucked the humanity, the value of it. Like it was worth something because it wasn't part.
Yeah.
Of that bullshit. But now that I almost feel like the second art gets recognized as a valuable piece of art, it should be worth absolutely nothing.
The thing about it is, one of the things I think about the documentary is art, contemporary art, is not a very free place for expression. I feel like there are other art
There's an agenda.
forms, right? There are other art forms where you can really be purer as an artist. Like for me, I'm all about like, I want to make art. It's still like a thing that like I've taken from childhood. Like I want to make art. I don't know what that means, but like all of our things that we make, it's only captured in the expression that is of the time. Like now people make videos. I make videos. Those are the kinds of art that I make. Had I been born 50 years ago, who knows what kind of expression I would present to the world. You know,
do you think like maybe like 30, 40 years, they'll be trading copies of this video of us as art?
Well, no, but I think like, for instance, like stand-up is a form of expression that started like in its current form around like Mark Twain's time. Mark Twain did stand-up.
Yeah.
Like people have been doing that sort of 10 to 15 to an hour sort of like jokes form for like that amount of history, but it didn't always exist. It's a very pure form of expression, you know what I mean? But like look how it's changed. Like for the last year, like it's good. Like if the pandemic keeps going, obviously like it's changing, it's mutating in time. Like everything is mutating in time. I'm saying that the monetization or whatever, the fact, like you said, the eye of commerce on an art form destroys it. And other arts don't have what contemporary art has going on in it.
The fact that the monetization destroys it shows the frivolity of everything. And that in itself is artistic.
You sound like the guy in the end of the movie that the guy made fun of.
Do I?
Yeah.
I jumped in the shower in the last 5 minutes.
Josh, I actually wrote something like that down. Because he says something at the end of the movie where he says the opposite of what Josh said. He says, Robert Hughes goes, if art doesn't tell us about the world we're living in, then there's no point in having it.
He's an idiot.
Right? But he's an idiot, yeah. Because I'm like, well, modern art or whatever you consider to
be.
The
world exists no matter what. It might not be the world you think you want.
What he's saying is like, okay, so for instance, like you and I, we all want to make art.
I shouldn't say he's an idiot. That's the wrong way to
but check it out. Like you, all the three of us like want to like make a voice, make our voices and like compress it into something that like the world receives, right? Mm-hmm. Using our ideas and stories and stuff. Now, we have this understanding that we will be able to make a thing that is sellable enough to the market that the average person will be like, I dig that. Now, what if some element came into the comedy world that was like, no, actually, it's only about an arbitrary price that is set by a buyer that has nothing to do with your story, nothing to do with the quality of words or anything. It's completely arbitrary. It's taken all that power away from you. And the value of yourself as an artist goes completely away because no one's going to buy like the type of earnest creativity that you're interested in doing.
If somebody came around and said that to me, I would tell everybody that they touched my penis. They touched my penis.
That is always the solution. That is always the solution. If you're ever in back to the wall, just be like, he touched my penis. Where do I sign? Where's my contract to sign?
And then you save art.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that is true is like, yes, as life.
That's how Andy Warhol got his gig.
Andy Warhol, like one thing that, you guys had something to say about Andy Warhol.
Got it?
The only thing, listen, he's a hustler. Like, I can't knock a motherfucker for making money doing art.
No, you're right.
I can't. Like, if you're the artist, I can't knock you. Yo, people bought your shit. People think you're amazing. Yo, sell, because yo, there's so many starving broke motherfuckers who talk shit.
Totally.
I can't be that one.
No, I'm not like that. I think Andy Warhol is cool. Like, the thing about Andy Warhol is, like, that was what he was saying. He was like, yeah, this is a game and I'm playing it. Like, I'm playing you guys. Like,
when I think about Andy Warhol's art, you have to, so that the guy who what's his name, Robert Hughes, clowned in the film and rolled his eyes at, and he's dissing on Andy Warhol as the artist, and he's judging him strictly in his painting specifically. What Robert Hughes failed to understand is that he was entering into a new world where the art was only one part of what you were buying. You were also buying the artist. Andy Warhol existed alongside of his artwork. So you're not just buying these replications in different colors of John F. Kennedy or whoever the fuck he was doing. You're buying that, and you're buying Andy Warhol sniffing coke with Jim Belushi in Times Square. That's what you're buying. You're buying the persona. It's almost like buying, into Kanye West. You're buying into, he's a great rapper, great, artist and musician, but you're buying into his persona and who he is. And that's what Robert Hughes is.
I'm Robert Hughes.
That the taxi guy?
Yeah.
It's the beginning of the end for you when you're doing interviews with a 40-foot painting of yourself, and you don't say, I bought that just because it's stupid. You have to acknowledge how retarded that is.
Hell yes, dude.
It's the beginning of the end for you.
That guy was awesome. I mean, he really was one of the best characters in the movie.
Great character, but like, also, please, like, a way to save yourself, because that's craziness. None of your friends are like, you know how stupid that is.
The taxi guy's whole story was the Seinfeld episode inside the documentary.
It really was. I gotta just say, anybody who watches Mona Lisa's Curse and doesn't watch this video is cursed.
Yeah. No, I was also gonna say is that, like, the guy who was like, Andy Warhol is my favorite artist. This probably went over your heads because you wouldn't know this, but like, so Robert Hughes goes, oh, what other artists do you like? And the guy goes, Richard Prince. So here's the thing about Richard Prince.
Okay.
That guy, his only artwork is taking a stock photography that somebody else has taken and like painting a little thing on it and then selling it for a lot of money. And he's actually been taken to court a bunch of times because all he does is take somebody else's picture, like a photographer's picture, and steals it. And it's like the fact that he brought him up after Warhol was just like, yeah, like, don't you get it? Like, I'm a shallow New York asshole. Like, I don't care about the art aspect of it.
That's honestly okay. If you think something is dope and no one else finds it dope, more fucking power to you, bro. Like, who gives a fuck if he finds that cool?
Yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, I think like as an artist, I feel like I am able.
Now he should.
No. Like I was saying, as an artist, like viewing through the lens of like what I like and don't like, because everything is about what you like and don't like. You choose to make comedy because you like certain comedy and don't like comedy. Mm-hmm. And that goes with everything, the type of music you like to. Like, who you are is a series of I like this or I don't like this.
You know what's interesting?
You're a person with no fucking taste. It's just like that guy has no taste.
You're right. And because art, that kind of art doesn't like, it's not near and dear to me.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you said comedy, I was like, you know what? I do judge people based off what comedy they like. Right? Like, if you tell me, I'm not going to name a name, but if you tell me like a certain comic,
yeah.
Okay, I will name a name. If you tell me You like who's that stand-up comic that I saw? I'm not gonna put you in this, Josh, but she's from Broad City. She did her own special.
Oh, Alana Glazer's stand-up.
Alana, if you said, "Oh, Alana
no,
Glazer's
that's a good special.
Was the best special I've ever seen in my life."
That's contemporary art, like comedy reviews.
That's a good special.
That's when I'll judge you. I'll be like, "Oh, this person doesn't have a funny bone in their body," even though I think that girl in Broad City is hilarious.
Right.
But stand-up wise, I'm like, oh, that's not.
Well, you've come to a great point, because one of the parallels, I think, in our world is sort of like whatever the market trend in like the comedy scene, or to the greater extent, like commercial comedy, doesn't reflect what's happening on the ground in the creative, like within creative artists. You know what I mean? Like I would say when you're forced to like a woke thing, like a woke comedian, but you're like, well, they don't kill as hard as like Burr or something like that. But like we're forced to be like, no, they're on the same level because they follow these rules. It's
like, it's the same. It's like Matthew McConaughey was going to do a comedy tour. Hey, don't do that. Hey,
and yet
you're probably a great comedic actor, which I wouldn't know anything about because I don't see you funny in almost anything you've done. You never rang to me as a funny guy. You rank to me as a kind of a dude that's kind of weird that I laugh at, but I'm not laughing with almost ever. You're the joke behind all the things that you think is funny. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's anyway. I agree with you. Where
Matthew McConaughey, don't buy you tickets to his comedy show. That's what you're saying.
Don't do that, bro. Unless his comedy show is him hosting, right?
Yeah.
And putting up other good comics that otherwise wouldn't be able to be known. That's how he could do justice for the art of comedy.
Yeah. You know, the whole thing about this documentary, it does make me depressed about how this is the way the world is. Like, truly, we are only as powerful as
the people that say we're tastemakers.
Right.
Like, oh, this guy's the guy that you
I used to work at Moon Records when I was like 17, 18, 19 years old. And that was an indie record label that was like...
Oh, you were into music, John?
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever mentioned, but I used to be in a band.
You're shitting me, really?
Yeah, no, for real.
Talented guy he is.
But so I worked at this label right at the time that No Doubt got signed to like Geffen or whatever. And No Doubt started as a ska band in the California scene. So, and No Doubt had sent their demo to Moon Records, and Moon Records didn't have the foresight to sign them, which is amazing. But they went on to become like a huge thing. And like even ska got popular in the late 90s, a big part to like those local scenes that was like burgeoning them up around the country, but in a big part to like No Doubt being like a mainstream poster child to that. And then like the economic machine of music like accelerated the production of ska, and it like depleted the scenes. Like it put out a few other bands, and then ska was effectively dead all over America. And like emo music had like sort of taken over. But what happened with it is what happens with all trend. It's like, we are just like making art and making these things, but we can't like fight against the big economic.
You know why? Because trends come from youth, and youth is fleeting, and youth constantly changes. It's always in a flux. So any trends that are birthed out of young, they're going to be gone in 3 years.
For sure. But I also think like it's, you know, we're helpless to a degree to like fight against the empire of like, you need money to, oh, that's what I was going to say. That's why I brought it up. So it cost the record label of Geffen like $350,000 to put in 1997 to put no doubt, on TV, billboards, and all medias so that the people would know that that's the thing they have to consume today. It's like, what's on the menu, teenagers? Oh, no doubt's on the menu. They spent the allotted amount of money to put them there. And that's like what record labels do. Like these people that they decide that they're essentially the tastemakers in the same way that the buyers, the art buyers are like, oh, this thing is going to be popular now. They just spend the money to like put it on the billboards. And it's sometimes there's integrity a lot of times, but a lot of times there's not. Like a lot of times artists are created for the market. And I feel like it's like an unfortunate thing that like, that's just how the world is. And you have to always think of yourself and be like, oh, well, am I going to follow my heart or am I going to like cater to what I think the world wants? And you want to do what's in your heart, but like you see again and again that like that shit does not always get rewarded.
If you're a real artist, it'll never get rewarded. That's why the classic artists, that's why Da Vinci and all the other fucking, everybody who's ever been a great artist of history has been broke and has died broke and they had no fucking money. And the reason is because if you're really a fucking artist, you're not giving society what it wants, you're giving it what it needs.
You're right and you're wrong. You're right. What are you talking about? There's plenty of great artists with money.
Exactly, Josh.
Really? Give me classical artists.
I don't give a fuck about classical artists.
We're not talking about Kevin. We're talking about
Donatello, Raphael, Leonardo. All of those guys did very well.
They got screwed on royalties.
There was no such thing as that back in the days. Like, well, no, if you are a court artist, like, I mean, you are right to some extent. There is.
Come on, John, you know this. Come on, every classic artist.
Sorry. When you guys say artists, you're just talking about. I'm not just talking about guys who paint out here. I'm talking about.
Okay, but Kevin, we're talking about going back 1,000 years.
Yes, to the dinosaur times.
Yes.
When people painted on caves, those artists all died penniless.
But it goes for a lot of money now, you see?
Yeah, you see? You can't escape it. Listen, it is tough. I know, Kevin, you're right too. Like, not all artists end up broke. That's a fucking fallacy. You can fucking scam your way out of this. What I'm thinking is we got to figure out how those guys in the video did it so we can start screwing artists that we know are off, you know, like
100%.
I got this artist. His name is Canis Latrans.
Yes. Good point. Very good. I'm glad we got here. Yes.
I think we can get some pictures out of this kid.
Yes. He should be our protege. He should be our protege. We'll buy him for him. We'll buy his stuff off of him cheap. And then we got to find a buyer, someone to give us maybe like $50,000.
I'm gonna offer him Tekken for life.
You know what's weird? I saw Canis's Instagram and he put up a video of like him beating a level in what do you call it? Spider-Man?
Yeah.
And
I had never like seen the gameplay before in my life. And I was like, Jesus Christ, this kind of does look fun.
I know. I watched it too. I saw it too, man.
I was like,
listen, I think like, deep down we're all jealous of Canis's fucking video game life.
Yeah, I'm like, you play this like 9-10 hours a day? Like,
it's like, yeah, man, I just take a break and jerk off every now and then.
That's the kind of robotic life I've been looking for. I want to figure out how I can just be a robot.
You know what? My kid looks like he's going to be happy. He might be a Canis.
A Canis? He might grow up into a Canis Latrans.
Well, he wants to play video games all day. Honestly, if I should have I found video games and I loved them. I used to play StarCraft. Play that shit. It was like crack, man. I should have just stayed playing StarCraft when I was a kid.
I fucking cannot do it. I mean, we talked about video games last time, but like,
yeah,
I have the last video game that I actually got addicted to were these like, okay, did you ever see Lumosity.com?
No.
All right, Lumosity.com are these games that they're billed as like keep your brain sharp as you get.
Oh, yes, I know what it is. Yeah.
But they're all these games.
It's like brain age. There's a thing called brain age now.
So it's fucking bullshit. Like all these are quick response games. They don't do anything for your mental acuity. But I did get into them for like probably like a 6-month period where like I was playing all of them. And a lot of them are like, remember a sequence, like see how much of the sequence you could remember really fast. And I would,
you're such a nerd.
I would go on the treadmill and put it on where I was like almost to a run and put the iPad in front of me and just play the game like a maniac. Cause I was feeling like I was like, like lift 50, like practice 100 to lift 10. Like I was like, I'm going to make myself so smart. Yeah, man.
So you were like trying to become the strongest, smartest version of yourself.
No, I was trying to like I noticed myself in decline.
Wow. Really?
More years do any of us have left? We have 20 more years until, whether you like it or not, you're 60. So the rest of the world sees you as a 60-year-old. I don't give a fuck
Kevin's only going to be
how vital you think you are, but that's the reality of it. So it's like I was like, maybe I should make sure I'm smart before I become an old dead guy.
But you know what, John? I mean, honestly, like, isn't ignorance bliss? It is. It's a gift from bliss. God that you become stupid, bro.
Honestly, there's so many things I wish I didn't know.
Bro, you're gonna forget them. Don't worry, I promise.
Thank you, dude. So
Kevin's gonna take care of you and I.
Wow, that'd be a good ending to both of them.
That would be the best ending. We're just total failures.
I would get in a robe like you, and
yeah,
two of us would walk around carrying our IV bags, being like, "You want to do the podcast?"
I'm with Kevin Sanchez.
What we do? We got to record a Patreon too. I do like this character. It's like Christopher Lloyd version myself. Like I'm fucked up.
It's just me and you inside of robotic wheelchairs. And Kevin has to hang out with us for a couple hours a week.
Because he didn't become a substitute teacher. He became a nurse, which is a good job. And listen, Kevin, you too are going to have to look at where this roller coaster ends and figure out at what point you're going to get off before you can do something else.
Well, in my universe, he's famous and he just has this obligation to be a nice guy.
You know what is funny is the idea, it's such a fucking Jesus dream that the vaccine comes out and then turn the engines on. We're doing the old world again. And that a bigger pandemic doesn't immediately come back and squash us.
Well, I told you and Kevin this. We can go back into old LEG episodes. What I'm saying is going to happen moving forward. We're going to get over this. It's going to take another year, whatever the fuck. We're going to get over it. But every single time, at least for the next 20, 30 years, that a little fucking flu breaks out somewhere that they can't genome, they can't figure out the genetic composition right away.
Yeah.
They're going to pull the triggers down and close everything right away. You're going to see. It's going to happen for the next 20 years. At least, out of the next 20 years, at least 11 or 12 of them are going to be spent in some sort of quarantine.
The economics is the true nature of people, I think. It's like when you look at how in this documentary, the humans got a sniff of something free that they could exploit. They exploited it within 30 years. They've completely turned 10 years. They completely turned it into a machine that's just like Coke lines. And that is exactly how we behave as humans with the amount of freedom we think we can exact on the world. So I think this, we are so short-sighted that nothing is going to get better. It's just going to more environmental chaos, all this shit until
until we give up and stop pretending we control the world and understand that all the beauty and all the grace and all the wonderful things that have been given to us are from God. and God.
Well, I thought you were going to say trees, and then I was going to be like,
well, God created trees, John.
All right, there's something we can find some common ground. That's cool.
Baruch Hashem.
Kevin, anything?
No, I'm good.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We are Wikipedia After Dark, and talk to you later.
Peace.